Alrighty, so we've now got our scene here going. What we need to do next is actually make our stuff work. Okay, so um, what we're going to do is add some physics to our game. So I'm going to grab my player. I'm just going to put them up a little bit just so you can see this. I'm going to grab my platform, and I need to make it so that it's hard right now, so that there's a physicsness about it. So to do that, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a component. We're going to go to Physics 2D, and we're just going to add a box collider. Now the box collider should by default be close to the same size as it. If you see how it's a little bit far off, so I'm just going to click on Edit Collider. I'll grab this handle here, pull it over, grab this handle here, maybe pull this down just a little bit, like that, and then I'll turn it back off. Okay, so now this has a rigid body, or a box collider attached to it, so things can hit against it. I need to do the same thing with my player. So add component, Physics 2D, and we'll do a box collider. And we'll just leave it like that. That's fine. Okay, so I got a box collider, but if I were to hit play, you're going to see someday. There we go. The world's most boring game. Nothing happens. The reason being is that this does not, it might have the ability to collide with something, but it doesn't have any physics actually applied to it. So we're going to add that. We're going to go add component, Physics 2D, and we're going to go rigid body 2D. Right here. Now this will actually add the ability to apply physics to it, so to apply forces as well, and one of those being, obviously, would be le gravité. So watch. Now you'll see the world's second most boring game, right? So now, at least it falls, but it's not doing anything because we're not really able to move it currently. But we do have the makings of the game now. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to make a new folder. So right now we have a scenes folder. That's going to hold all of our levels. What I need to do is make another folder, because we want to stay organized, to hold my scripts. A scripts folder. Okay, so scripts. Open that up, and we're going to make a script in here. Okay, so right click, create C# script, and we're going to call it player controller script. And that way I know what it is. Okay, so we have player controller script, and I need to open this up. What I would like you to do is this. If you do not already have it installed, is to hang on for a second till this gets okay. Is you're going to want to go to Microsoft Visual Studio Code. You can just type it into whatever search. You'll see it. It'll be the top thing here. And then you're going to want to wait. You're going to want to install it, and you can just click up here to download it. Actually, just download it right here. It's nice because it doesn't make you like sign up for anything. They don't ask for an email. It literally just downloads it, and then you just install it once it's downloaded. Okay, that's all there is to that. Okay, once you have that installed, what you want to do is make sure that you go to your edit preferences. This little panel will pop up, and then you will see external tools. And you want to make sure that your external script editor is Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio 2017, because that one's annoying. Visual Studio Code, okay? What that'll do is that it'll automatically, when you go to open up a script, it'll automatically open it up in that now, okay? So once you do that, you can close out of it. And now, if I double-click on this, I mean, mine was already set up anyway, it'll automatically open up Visual Studio Code. And I can start adjusting my code and what have you. Controller script, and we'll close this one out. Don't mind that. I don't know what I was working on. Get out of here. All right. Okay, and it'll automatically open up this right here, and come back. Where are you going? It's weird. Okay, automatically open up this right here. It's really weird. I don't know why it's close out. We don't need all this extra little business here. Okay, so what this is going to do is it automatically creates the things that you need. So you'll notice that it puts these things up on the top, and these are basically libraries that you're importing. And it has the heading that you need in order to make a class, which is what this is going to be. And it says player controller script. It needs to be exactly the same name as this. If for some reason you open it up and it says player controlled the script or something and it's wrong, you can't just change it here. You'd have to change it here and on the file name itself. They have to be the same name. If they are not, it won't work. The whole thing will just be broken and everybody will be disappointed in you. Okay? So make sure that you do that. All right. So now what we're going to do is make it so that we can, move our player, okay, with our various buttons and things. Okay, so what I want to do is that when I use my arrow keys, that it will move left or right. Okay, that's the goal for my game here. So the way that it works is that when you push left or right on the keyboard or on a controller or whatever input device that you're using, it gives it a value from 1 to -1. 0 is default. So if it's -1, it'll be all the way to the left, and if it's 1, it's all the way to the right. Okay. Now what I want to be able to do is that when I push to the right, that it's going to give me a value of 1. I want to multiply that times a speed, so when I push 1, it will move me times a certain amount. So I want to be able to control the speed at which I'm moving. So we're going to make a variable that's going to hold that for us. Okay. So we're going to go a public, and we're going to do a float, which a float is a type of variable that will hold a floating point, meaning it can be 0.1, 0.3, 1.7, 0.6. It could just be 1. So we're going to do a float, and then we're going to call it player speed, semicolon. All right, so that's one variable, and we're going to do another variable that's going to eventually control our jumping ability. So we'll do public float player jump. Oops, not jump. Jump strength. Okay. So these will be variables that we can put a number in, and then that will control our speed. All right. Great. Okay. I'm also going to need. I'm going to need something that's going to. The way that's going to work is like this. My player here has this rigid body. The way we're going to make it jump and move left and right is actually by applying a force onto this rigid body. So we're gonna manipulate the rigid body here in order to make it move. Okay. So I need to have a variable that's going to hold this. So we're going to make a variable for that. So this will be a private, and the type is rigid body. See rigid body 2D? That's going to be the name of it. Rigid body 2D. That's the type. And then we'll just call it player RB2D and semicolon. Okay? Hoo-ha. Okay. So we've got that. That looks fine. So now we have our variables that are going to hold, that are multipliers for jumping and for running. And then we have the thing that we have to apply our force to in order for it to allow us to do it. Okay. So now what I need to do is that when the script first opens, when it first runs, I need to store this rigid body into this variable. This is just an empty box that can hold a rigid body, and we just named it player, RB2D, okay? But there's nothing in it. There's nothing contained in it. I want to use it later on, so I need to put this specific one into here, and we're going to do that in our start. So to do that, we're going to say player RB2D, and we're going to assign it the value of get component rigid body 2D like this. Oops, semicolon. Okay. So basically we say, okay, I want to put inside of that variable that holds a rigid body 2D, I want you to grab the component, and this is going to grab the component that this script is attached to. It's not currently attached to player. We're going to attach it. So it's going to grab any component. It's going to grab, not any component, it's going to grab the rigid body 2 component, the rigid body 2D. It's going to grab that, and then that will go inside of here. That's what this script is basically saying. Okay. Now what we will do is this. We are going to go ahead and make it so we can move left and right. Okay, so start this function here. This runs when the script first opens up. So the first thing I want to do, or when it starts running, first thing I want to do is just go ahead and run this. This only needs to run once. So as soon as the game starts, it's going to go ahead and it's going to shove that rigid body 2D in there. Update, this runs on every rendered frame. Okay, so you typically don't want to put a lot in there, but this is where you would put things that deal with input because the player responds to what they see. Okay, so here what we're going to do is we are going to leverage that player RB2D that we have the rigid body in. So this RB2D is equivalent now to this. We're going to say take that, and then inside of that there is a property called velocity. And we are going to give it a new value, a new vector 2. Oops, new vector 2. Okay. And that is going to be an input get axis. And the axis I want to get is going to be horizontal. Oops. Okay. Like that. Oh, it needs that, and then it also needs, so that's gonna, it's gonna be that. So that's, well, so it's gonna take my input here, which I'm gonna put an extra parentheses here. Let's go like this so we can see it a little bit better. So I'm gonna take this input horizontal, and we're gonna multiply that times my player speed. Okay. And then we're going to do player RB2D dot velocity dot y. And I'm going to go ahead and do view toggle word wrap so that I can see all that I'm typing here. Okay. So basically what we said is that we're going to take our velocity, so basically how we're moving, and we're going to make a new vector 2. A vector 2 means x and y, so this is a flat game, so we don't need z. There's no depth in it. So I'm going to put a new x and y inside of this because this is a directional thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to say in the x, so you see how there's this comma right here? So this represents the x, and then after the comma, the second section represents the y. So the y we're not doing anything to. We're going to say, okay, whatever the current player velocity.y is, just leave that as player velocity.y. However, the player velocity.x, which is what's going to go here, I want that to be whatever the current horizontal axis is, meaning my arrow keys, times the player speed. Okay, so this input.getAxis, what this does is it looks in your inputs and it grabs the axis, and the axis it's going to grab in this case is horizontal. That is this here. So if I go to edit project settings, if we go to input, you'll see axes. Here's horizontal, and horizontal is the axis it's going to grab. And basically what it's going to say is the negative and positive button for this are left and right, but also is A and D, and also is a joystick. So basically what it does is allows you to instead of having to specifically say the left key and right key that's specifically tied to a keyboard, this will say these letters on the keyboard, these letters on the keyboard, and joystick and mouse. It allows you to put multiple things to represent the horizontal axis. Okay, there's also a vertical one. You see there's one for fire and jump, but that's what we're using is this here. That's where that's coming from. Okay, so that looks good. Let's just go ahead and save that, Control S, and see if we get any errors. We'll just clear that. I'm not sure. Oh, hang on a second. It's taking a second to... Okay. So we have the player controller. So I'm just going to go ahead, and on this, I'm going to click and drag over here. Now, if I hit play, it's not going to work, and the reason being is my player speed is currently nothing. So type in 5 for my player speed to start with. And now if I hit play, and you can see if I go left and right, or A and D, it goes side to side. Okay, so that's what we get. And the reason why I can put in these variables here, this player speed and player jump strength, is because in the script I made them public, which means that everybody has access to them. You'll notice this private one, this doesn't show up down here. It's because I don't need to interact with it. It's going to get, it's going to find it anyway by running this piece of script right here. So that's not necessary. All right, so we have it going left and right, which is a start. It's not super interactive, but it's somewhat working. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that, Control S, and then we will add jumping in the next video.